everybody got quiet, so I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Well, good evening and welcome to the Tualatin Downtown Revitalization Community Advisory Committee, the CAC, for March 4th, 2026. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Just a few quick things. Again, I want to welcome you here tonight. We have a pretty good showing here tonight. Folks who aren't here have that nasty bug that's going around that seems to be getting lots of people. So they're excused for tonight. Sadly, Charlie Sitton, the owner of Century Hotel, who was very interested in being on the committee, has figured out he can't do it because of time commitment. So he will stay involved, but he will not be part of the committee. Remember, Vi Chow, Steve's wife, is now going to be a full alternate to Steve for next meeting. Before she was a guest, now she's been elevated to an alternate. At the last meeting, I was unable to attend, but just as a reminder for folks, you adopted evaluation criteria, applied it for the first time to score a batch of civilist recommendations. A lot of that recommendations and the scoring was in the minutes from last month. The feedback you all provided was robust. Thank you for developing each recommendation so fully. This is exactly what we're looking for. We want everybody's opinion and ideas on what our downtown should look like. Even if it's not what the group is saying, we still want to hear things on the edge or outside of the box thinking. What are we going to do today? Today, we'll briefly review the scores and comments from last meeting. We'll score the last 6 civilist recommendations. And we're going to score the first batch of the Sustainable City Year recommendations. These coming from the Oregon Consulting Group, the OCG Downtown Market Study, which largely focus on activating downtown. These are some of the most, in my opinion, simple recommendations from U of O of the groups. These are some of these things we're already doing. You might have noticed, but some of the things, there's a few nuggets in there that I think we'll be very interested in. To me, this was the simplest result of the studies that we received, but they'll be getting a little tougher as we go on, so it'll be a lot more discussion. With that, I'll move on to housekeeping and binder update led by Quinn.
Yes, so I've got a big packet of materials for you, and as the mayor shared, we've got a membership update. So I'm going to have you, just like last time, turn to item number 1 in your binders, the roster, and tear out that page. And I'm going to give you a new one. It is. Do you know where yeah,
I'm a juror, I'm an attending juror, whatever. Yeah, I'll be there anyway, so. Thank you. All documentation.
All right, that's twice in a row that we have cleared a real gauntlet. So thank you for bearing with me on our version control here. You all should have the most up-to-date roster and upcoming meeting schedule now. Beyond that, the rest of that big packet should go under meeting 9. Those are materials that we'll be using for the conversation we're having today. But that's it there.
All right. That brings us to the approval of the minutes. Just a reminder, if you're an alternate, you don't vote unless your full member is not here. If you weren't present at the last meeting, you can always vote to abstain, but per Oregon law, you can vote aye on a meeting minutes that you didn't attend. But a lot of folks defer and abstain. There were 2 amendments that were received and has been reflected in the updates. Unless there's a discussion, could I please get a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Motion.
Cozy made the first, and Christina did a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Me. And Christine. And Kathy. But it still passes. Plenty of votes there. We're supposed to do the group photo tonight. Again, we're going to punt it down to next month. Since Councilor Sacco is not here and several other members who are hoping we'll have luck in April. As Quinn mentioned, it'll be spring, so it might be really nice to take the photo outside rather than indoors. So that brings us to item number 3, review score recommendations. This is hand the floor over to Quinn.
All right, so these are materials that I sent out over email. Don't worry, I'm not going to have us read all of these. I just wanted to show you that we've got one big repository here where all of your feedback is going, right? And so last meeting, we made it through, I think, 9 or 10 of the Civilis recommendations, and all of your scores, your average scores are reflected here, along with all of the comments. It's moving a little bit slow, but we have all of the comments in the notes section. This is a living document. And so I had a few folks who either weren't at last meeting or had additional thoughts submit more comments, right? And I've added those here in green. We're not going to spend time on them in the meeting, but they're reflected in the version that I sent out yesterday. This is not an area that we need to find consensus on. This is just a repository for all of our ideas so that in a few months when we start really digging into prioritizing recommendations, we have this completed intake process that can kind of guide our work. So I wanted to kind of ground what we're doing today in this structure. Beyond that, I also wanted to preview that for the next couple meetings, we're going to be primarily engaging with the Sustainable City Year program recommendations. But I also know that through this work, you all are coming up with ideas of your own that the students might not and that need to be on this list. And so I anticipate that as we get a little bit further down the road, we'll have an opportunity for you all to suggest ideas of your own and to put them through this exact same filter where you can get in front of the group and say, here's an idea that I have, here's 2 minutes on it, and then we can discuss it and make sure those comments are documented too so that we don't leave any stone unturned with this. So just planting that seed, start keeping a little like post-it note or like a note on your phone, and we can dig into that more in a few months. Unless there's any questions on this, then we can just keep moving right along. All right. The next one's me too. So we are going to get started on the scoring exercise for the last batch of the Civilis recommendations. I'll have you pull out your devices and we will make sure that we'll take about 5 minutes here to make sure everybody is able to connect to the polling software. So I'll come around and make sure everybody's logged on.
Oh, 444. Question about national boundaries.
Oh, I know what's wrong. Sorry. Okay, there we go. No, don't answer this one. Don't answer this one. Yeah, I know this is the big one we're wrestling with today. All right, today is National Grammar Day. That's true. All right. I did a lot of research on this. Oh, I would, it's the difference between like strong and strong. So like in this sense, some grammarians think person is okay. Yeah, oh, yeah. This is going around. So, yeah. Part of the meeting. Yeah, I kind of figured Oxford Commas would be the one everyone already kind of had their mind made up about. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, I think we're looking for one more person to get their scores in. All right, sweet. If anybody would prefer not to use this virtual scoring tool, we can, I've got paper sheets this time too that we can sub out instead. So the most important part for us here today is the conversation that we have about each of these issues. Although I don't think we'll debate the grammar one too much. Yep, so we'll just wait on a couple more here. Yeah, I think so. Yes. Checked like 4 times. I'm so paranoid after that last recording didn't work. Okay, so all right, I think we're waiting on 2 more scores, but is everybody in the system feeling ready to go? Okay, I'm gonna jump to our next item here. So this is a recommendation from the Civilis report. It should be familiar. We are looking at the recommendation to create a festival street. Now, Festival Street is it functions as a road for a good chunk of the day, right? But is also designed with some beautification elements that make it a destination, and it can be closed down for large events or just intermittently to promote like shopping. So there's some places that will close down their festival street to host a weekly farmers market, or close it down in the evenings so that restaurants can expand outside. There's an example in the Civilis report from a community up in Washington, and they specifically recommend the western 2 blocks of Nyberg. So that is kind of from the splash pad over to Boone's Ferry Road as a potential location. We're asking you here to evaluate the idea of a festival street. The location, while recommended, is not the most important piece. So go ahead and submit your scores, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Actually, I'll turn it to you, Mayor, to facilitate that conversation. All right, so I'm seeing a lot of folks who see this as a good idea. Any comments or thoughts on like ways that this could be optimized, or on locations that?
Oh, do this?
Yeah, we got our table tent. There we go.
I know, I heard Christine first, so.
I'm Christine Tunstall. I'm a member of the Historical Society. We set up a farmer's market soon after the Commons was built on that section of street that we're talking about. We probably didn't have very good signage. We didn't have many people show up, and we tried it for I think a couple years, possibly. So it was nice. It worked nicely because people could come in, and there was a parking lot right there. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Okay. So the parking lot made it really easy, accessible. So I like the idea.
Terrific.
Council Pratt?
I I love the idea. My only caveat would be that we make sure that, I'm thinking of Rex right now, that we make sure that that business is accessible if it's open at the time we close down the street.
Was, we did.
I think Christina was up next.
Yeah, I'm just piggybacking on, I think it's a great idea. It also helps out with getting people involved, even if they don't have a storefront, thinking of like just local artists and makers to be able to have a place. I did the Grange Farmers Market this last summer. It was really nice, but definitely slow getting back into it to have people out there. So definitely just having word of mouth and then also advertisement about it somewhere. But I think it's going to be a great pull to have something like that.
Kathy, then Skip.
When we're talking about festivals, one specific festival that has been raised with our people is a wine festival. Making connections with the wineries in the valley and having them set up tastings so that, especially this would be in the holiday, near the holiday time, so that people could purchase wine without having to drive all the way to Newburgh or Forest Grove or wherever. And then the second is that the festival street ought to extend onto the lake and onto the commons. I think that could be leveraged in a lot of ways, especially a festival of lights.
Skip?
Yes, I'm definitely in favor of the concept of the festival streets. I agree with you. I think that that spot is great, but it's confined. We need to Festival Street, you want to be a pedestrian connector. And so as we look for a location of where it should be, we need to utilize that so it can be this pedestrian connection to go through all of our downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So
Other comments?
Terrific. All right, on to the next. So recommendation 1.18, I believe, is about creating a food cart pod. This one, again, there was a specific location recommended in the Civilis report, but the conversation we're having is kind of twofold. One is about the idea of a food cart pod, and the other is about potential locations. I don't think I need to describe in too much detail food cart pods, but I think the idea is in particular is that this is a food cart pod with some type of home base, right? That is maybe more like the garages in West Lynn or the Beaverton Farmers Market near City Center, as opposed to just like a clustering of temporary carts. Oh, Kosie's got something to say.
Oh, man, I'm trouble getting it to go down.
Look, how many are we looking for total?
We're looking for 12 total, but we can probably start discussion
Okay.
while folks are.
Cozy.
Okay, well, I would say I've had a lot of discussion with the high school about like students in the high school about this, and whenever we're going out with our friends, like it's like five people packed into a car and we like variety. And it's kind of hard because if we're all trying to go to or a couple spaces, but we only have 30 minutes of lunchtime, it makes it harder to, I guess, like choose. Like we just end up going to Dutch or McDonald's and or Arthur's Cafe, and it's pretty, I guess, like it's just one place, but having the variety and all in one place is just, it's not only like vibrant and mixed use, but it's also magnetic to especially high school students.
Others? Pretty quiet on this one. Skip.
Okay.
I always have
All
something.
right, go on.
I always have something to say. I think the food carts are a great idea, but a lot of care has to be taken to make sure that it's done right, especially if it's going to be a key part of our city. Because, food cart environments can be great, or they can look like a homeless camp. And so the concept is great, but the execution is so critical.
Christine, then Brian.
We talked about this before for the industrial area. And I think if we allow one here, we need to have something like that out in the industrial area to serve people at lunchtime, to improve the traffic flow in the city. It's been a problem from day one. So I don't know what the code is, but we need to do it there as well.
All right. Okay. Right.
When I was thinking about this, I was thinking about Canby and Oregon City both have, it's essentially like there's a bar that also has food trucks, and it's very clean and neat and well organized, and tons of people go there. But then, I've been to other ones where it's like a gravel parking lot with food trucks. And so, carrying on with what Skip said, the higher end ones, especially with like bars and stuff, seem to do really well and look good without being an eyesore. So,
Okay. Kathy. Your mic's off.
Investing in food carts, parking is something they want. They want to be able so that high school students have some place to park. I think trying to pick a location, although this question isn't a location, it's extremely difficult. If the code is written so that they are, I'm confident the planning department can write a code so that a commercial area has certain requirements in place that they would avoid. I've seen the homeless camp versions as well. I think if the code is written correctly, that investors ought to pick the location, not the city, because parking is something they want. And I think in our downtown area, we're going to put parking at a premium. At least that's what I'm understanding. So I understand the notion of trying to have all the selection and having it walkable, but we're a suburban city, people drive, and it will fail if there isn't enough place to park. So I'm not guaranteeing it'll fail, but I think it might fail.
Because the tag on the Kathy's comments, if you ever been to the one in Beaverton, I mean, that lot that's diagonally across the street technically is not for the food cart pod. You can get towed out of there. Everyone parks there. No one gets towed. But if you've been at that food pod when it's very busy, there's very limited parking around the Beaverton one, unless you're willing to take that risk for the gravel lot. So Kathy has a very good point where you have an idea of the Beaverton one has a bar, has at least 20 different food carts. At lunch, it's a zoo, especially during the summer, and parking is a premium around there. So it's a very good point. Other comments? Oh, Kathy, go ahead. Oh, Janet, I'm sorry. Sorry, Janet.
That's okay. Hillsborough also has a really nice pod cart. They have music there on the weekend evenings. Parking is a bit of a premium there as well, but all the food carts are quite wonderful. Keeping in mind the location, I think it's a really good kind of segue from the pickleball that's there. Those pickleball folks I've been talking to don't really want to go into a sit-down restaurant after they're done. And a pod cart place would be, just ideal to go grab something. So that's in place right now, which segues back.
And then another one that just popped in my mind that's super popular. Have you ever been to West Lynn when the West Lynn one is busy? Try and find a spot on West Lynn on Main Street. Council Pratt.
We're getting off into
Yeah.
parking, but I would say that if you put it next to where the pickleball court, you need to put it in a spot where if you can't, either you could park really close or it's a really, really short walk to get there. But we still need to consider parking enough, we want to get rid of parking, but we also have, to Kathy's point.
Don't get rid of it.
Yeah, we want it centralized, but we still need to consider that, yeah, people are, it needs to be easily reachable.
Okay. Jillian and then Christina.
And thanks. I think what I think about, I think food cart pods come up a lot in these types of discussions. And my question is always, what is the goal of having a food cart pod instead of something else? Because that's taking up buildable, developable land
Yes,
that
exactly.
could be something else. So what is a food cart pod in preference to? Right? Is it in preference to a larger park? Is it in preference to a building being there? Is it in preference to parking? Like something is not going to be in the space where the food cart pod is. And so I think it just really thinking through like what is as a developer, every yes is a no. Every time you say yes, I'm gonna, put this expensive thing in, then I have to say no, I'm gonna not do this other thing. And yeah, that's what I would just encourage us to think about is what would we want this instead of? And because there's a lot of goals and a lot of proposals and a lot of suggestions in the report, and you, it's we're gonna have to pick some. So and the other thing is like the parking, yes. I think, food carts are great for startup restaurants. They're great to like test a concept. And a lot of times those really successful food carts will then move into a permanent space somewhere else. So there's a lot of economic development opportunity around restaurateurs and entrepreneurship with food carts. But what is backing that? Where's the funding for that economic development for those entrepreneurs to figure out how to do their books and how to be in compliance and how to do all the other things? Because it's not necessarily coming into a brand new spot going to be folks that have 5 food carts somewhere else. It's going to be a lot of folks from Tualatin or the surrounding area that want to give it a shot. So that's the second part of the food cart part is how do you support those small businesses growing their business and doing it in a way that will work for them.
Christina.
Kind of one with the same on that is just having a larger idea of what the totality of our already limited space is going to be comprised of. And then also, not just because I'm also a food place of like, what about the people that are already there? Like, are we going to oversaturate the competition in a market that's already struggling? Or are we going to supply like a multiple versatile space for other things like art and parks and like spaces for children and things like that? That's thinking about the whole community's needs.
Good point. Council Pratt.
I agree with what you're saying about we really need to consider the use of the space. But another factor to add into that is we've talked about we want to bring things in that will attract people to the area and bring them back. So just that we should consider if a food cart pod would do that also.
Okay. Any other comments on this one? Next one.
Great discussion. All right, so here we have one that was phrased a little bit open-ended, but I want to maybe recontextualize this for our discussion. So this recommendation is about designing spaces and activities to appeal to all ages, right? And then in the Civilis report, there were a number of specific examples of ways that this could appeal to so ensuring universal accessibility. You can think of this as kind of a spectrum where you've got children playing on the splash pad, you've got hangout spots for teens, and you've got interactive art and furniture and other things that are appealing to adults, right? Maybe a useful way of discussing this recommendation would be identifying specific types of activities or features that could appeal to different age groups. But if you have other ways you'd like to weigh in on this recommendation, you can approach this from whatever angle makes the most sense to you.
All right, so looks like we got a majority of folks. Floor's open. Discussion on a space that is appealing to all ages, from infants to 80-year-olds. Christina.
It is really broad, but I would say just coming from personal experience of having a space that's inclusive to like crawling babies to senior citizens, the feedback I've received in a space like that is huge. People are loving a space where they can come with every person within their family and there's something for everybody. So I feel like it could be a very, I don't know, like attractive thing to do where it's a space where maybe families can go early morning and maybe it's a space that morphs into something in the evening that's different, that's more attractive to the drinking age and up, or teenagers in between too. I guess, yeah, it's just kind of broad to really exactly pinpoint it.
Christina. Christine.
Uh,
There's a Kathy. Oh, Kathy
yeah.
signs up. Okay.
Mentioning specifics, in Eugene, they suggested having athletic and, well, playground equipment for children by the splash pad, and then having adult exercise equipment along our trails, and having park benches for those of us who use canes. So those are specific examples that I think could be built around the commons and on our trails, that would give people activities. And I understand the Europeans have a series of workout things that they showed examples of them, but it would be attractive and would bring people in. And I know playground equipment is very attractive to children. So that's my comment. I think it's a great idea. We should do it.
You have more? Yeah.
To me.
Yep.
I was just gonna say it brought up a memory growing up in like the Eugene Springfield area. There was, I think it was actually military like equipment along this like little route for
Yeah,
a trail,
they
and
should.
it was all wood. And like I played on it as a kid, not knowing that it was actually meant for doing push-ups, pull-ups, and all that stuff. But then if you tie in artwork and have it be something that's really attractive along the way, I think that would be a really cool idea.
As Kathy was mentioning, when I visited Scandinavia, these kind of parks were huge. Next to soccer fields, you had adult workouts. I mean, any age could use the workout. It was free, pre-standardized equipment. And then the idea when I've mentioned when we look at our splash pad, that, our splash pad can be made more age friendly if there was more shade, more benches. The grandparents can watch the kids while they're playing. Grandparents can go in the splash pad too, but making those accommodations that all ages can be there, having some place to sit that's shaded, that has water features. Janet.
Yes, the splash pad, when that was renovated, the Arts Committee had quite a big deal but there wasn't the money
Yeah.
for the shade, there wasn't the money for the seating, there wasn't the money for the artwork. So we kind of did the best that we could to make it as accessible. The one thing that was part of that process was that we had the community come in and choose the types of fountains they wanted at each of the locations. So the kids and the parents got to be a part of that whole process, which was really, really cool. One of the things that I would love to have in the commons area, since it is quite a concrete pad, is ground murals. And I would like ground murals that also have the kind of material that responds to water, so that when you have a sunny day, you have one piece of artwork, and then when it's raining, all of a sudden it becomes another piece of artwork. So it's a place that's interactive on all seasons, not just on a bright sunshiny day. And I love the fact that this last homecoming, there were a number of high school students who are at Bricks or not at Bricks, and then we're at the Veterans Plaza hanging out in the Veterans Plaza, in the artwork, taking pictures for that whole time. It was absolutely, it made my heart just swell. I thought, we did this. Thank you.
Yeah. Cozy.
I think art is one of the things that I feel like we should really put a focus on because even like in front of seating areas or on seating areas, like when you sit down and take a rest or you're sitting down to like notice things, you can find the little details and you can make what you perceive out of the art that's around you. And I feel like it's just so important to have that, especially in this community. I feel like art is 100% a part of our identity. And yeah.
Any other comments on this one? And to me, the last thing on this one is just having it be an attractive area that people come and hang out and get the social aspect, with the art, with the workout facilities, if you will, and splash pads and things that bring people together. Because, once you're done looking at the art, then you're talking and people watching and all that good stuff. So,
Getting coffee.
and getting coffee, yeah. Janet.
One of the pieces of the puzzle, thank you, for the Veterans Plaza that I was kind of vehement on was having tactile artwork be a part of it. I wanted Braille, but we didn't necessarily want to have words. So what we ended up doing, I kind of found out after the fact, was that all of the service emblems can be rubbed and you can feel them, they're tactile. So that's another component, I think, with anything that we do in that area. It needs to be accessible for blind people. It needs to be accessible for non-ambulatory. It needs to be accessible. And I love the piece of artwork in the Portland Art Museum that has the description down below of the artwork up above. And then you can feel the tactile. They have a cutout version of it as well. And that's, to me, that's multi-generational. That kind of stuff when a parent brings their kids there.
Next time, Quinn.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate the way you took a value statement and turned it into some very specific ideas. So this next one here is very tangible. This is about showcasing existing uses with improve what you have programs. So examples of this are paint improvement programs or facade improvement programs or window improvement programs. This often comes in the forms of matching grants, right? Where you'd say to support tenant improvement programs, where the city would say, if you are making a tenant improvement of up to this amount of money, we'll go 50-50 with you on it, so long as it complies with the new design standards. That could take a number of different forms, but this is about that kind of general angle.
I get quieted down there. Comments. Been in places where you see where buildings started off as one use and then got switched. A lot of times you see these old-fashioned gas stations that have been turned into art galleries, into restaurants. See a lot of it in the Boise area, where they went to a neighborhood and cleaned it all up, got people to start coming again. If you look at Bodo, the famous parts of downtown Boise, what they did in in Denver. all the kind of stuff. They reinvigorated their downtowns with repurposing buildings, so and reimagining what they could be and what they could be used for. Aquila.
Thanks. I'm wondering if Quinn or Sid, this one, I'm not sure how it differentiates from the adaptive reuse one other recommendation.
Sure, that's a great question. So the adaptive reuse recommendation at the beginning of this report is very general, and it's focused on that is focused more on like taking, I think, either probably taking a vacant building that had one use and then turning it into a new active use. This is largely focused on tenant improvements where you've got an existing successful business and the city's providing resources to make it more visible. So I don't know if I did a great job explaining that one. I may have flew right through, but this is I think a common redevelopment strategy that's used to support existing businesses and really.
So this is.
Yep.
It's helping businesses.
Yes.
Adapt their space.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, I didn't understand.
Okay, yeah.
But this is why we talk.
Like
Yes.
facade improvements and square frontage improvements, stuff like that.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Sorry, I motored right on through it.
I mean, one of the things, if you look at Beaverton has done a lot in helping out their businesses and improve their facades, their frontages. Spent a lot of money to make downtown Beaverton look way better than it did, 5, 6 years ago. And it's basically exactly, they improved what they had, and just the business owners jumped on enthusiastically because, they had a small match, but the city helped them, make their whole storefront look way better than it used to. Kathy?
Change my votes.
Oh, you change your votes?
Yeah, go ahead. Holy sellers.
All right. Other comments? Christina? Oh, nope. Yes, Jillian. They both put them up. Christina and Jillian.
I just want to say, I think this is a really great way to help mitigate displacement of current businesses as the street redevelops, as property values go up. Sometimes feels like the only way to get redevelopment is for somebody to move out and somebody else to come in and completely redo the building. But if you offer some grants to existing businesses to improve up to the current code or beyond it, then that helps not displace the people that are already here, as well as encouraging new developers to come in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I really like this as something that kind of ties in what's already here and allows it to be a part of the bigger picture as we're putting, bows on things and it's all beautiful. And then also not just for the businesses, but say like where I'm at, we're under a lease. So that building isn't ours to do so. But if it's welcomed to the landlords to be able to do that as well, I think that would be fantastic. We kind of touched on that in some of our earlier discussions of just how to like kind of tie the whole downtown in together, so it's nobody's really getting left behind on their own penny.
Okay. Sid?
I just wanted to add, as a administrator of past facade grants, this is probably one of our best tools we've ever had, especially from an urban renewal standpoint, and being able to give back to the community where a lot of the property taxes are gained in, and you're able to kind of be able to kind of provide those type of facade grants. And besides that, it is probably one of the best way to get to know the property owners and the business owners, and building those relationships, I think, is probably one of the best outcomes of this as well. So I mean, this is a great program.
Anything else on this question? Oh, Councilor Pratt.
Well, Kathy, I like this one. I'm just wondering if the improve what you have, if signage is included in this, because I can even think like our Turk Cafe, if we had, those flags we use for Pumpkin Regatta, even if we had on Boone's Ferry, highlighting our businesses, I think it would help bring people in.
Right.
Terrific. I'll try and do a better job explaining this next one. I can't believe I undersold one of our best tools. All right, so this one here has a picture which should help me. So this is focused on, this recommendation is to explore temporary retail spaces. So these retail incubators, I think this example is from Bothell, Washington. This is something that the city there did. They put up these small shacks with heating and electricity, and then they allowed like local vendors to lease them out. And I think the lease contracts were on the terms of something like they would do like 10% of your total, like your gross sales or something like that. So they would use flexible lease terms so that you could support emerging businesses. The urban development side of this is that this could be a great way of activating a corridor or potentially adding like double-sided border density to an area that is currently vacant, right? And it provides a real like vibrant pedestrianscape. So um, that's that's this idea.
All right. Thoughts, comments? Council Pratt.
Still have my microphone on. The thing I really like about this is I think, you're gonna have different businesses moving in, and that's gonna be a change that will bring people back over and over again.
Kathy.
In Northwest Portland, this is a little different take on it, but it's similar. They allow little shops set up between Thanksgiving and Christmas to sell Christmas items on like cashmere sweaters and impulsive buy presents and that sort of thing. And of course, it violates sidewalk codes and all that kind of thing, but it's very popular. It's a little different version.
Sure.
Well, something like this I've seen where um, with the season, the kind of stores change. So you'll have a holiday market,
Yeah.
bunch of stalls, and then during the spring, maybe gardening. Yeah, it's very cyclical. Then I've seen this a lot. If you ever visit Washington, D.C., head out to the burbs on Metro. Once you get further out in the burbs, when you get off at Metro stops, the landlords that own the land around Metro stops, they do this all the time. They have all these stalls sitting there. They get passengers who are coming in from back and forth from the Metro trains and tourists, and they do very, very, very well. And they rotate out so it can be done. Christina.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I like the idea. I was curious if there could be some sort of percentage that maybe we leave for schools, whether that be high school or college, and trying to get people that are young entrepreneurs that want to come up and have like business kind of careers throughout there. If it's like small leases or something like that.
The comments. Kathy, or your okay. All right.
Okay, we've got two more civilis recommendations to go here. This one is, we're in the housing section. And so this housing recommendation is very specific, which is a policy model of Swiss style cooperative housing. And so I imagine that if we were to be involved in this, it would be through creating like a policy framework that allows this type of development to happen. I'm not an expert on this, but my understanding is that this model allows folks to buy in a way that's similar to condos, but they um, I don't have other country to like much more than that. It's like kind of like condos, but it's more um, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry. This is
You're not selling this
I
thing.
know. It's not really
Right, you buy in, but then you can't sell it at a big profit, so it continues to be affordable going forward.
I think that profit control piece was like
okay.
the specific element. I think it was designed to promote like entry level, I guess, like home ownership in a way that's different than other than like a traditional condo model. But that's I think is the best that I could understand this one.
Jillian, do you have?
Sorry.
Yeah, so there's two kinds of models with this. One is what's called a land trust, where each of the units is inside what's a land trust that is usually operated by a nonprofit, and that restricts the sale value in the future. So the owner can make a limited amount of equity per year, but they own the condo. Right. So that's kind of model one of cooperative condos. The second model is where the building itself is like a corporation. And it's more of a New York co-op model where you buy into the corporation and part of your rights as an owner in the corporation, or you get to live in this unit. And the way that it keeps it affordable is that there are restrictions on the income level of the next person you sell it to. So you're technically selling shares in a corporation that give you a right to live in a condo. And then that corporation is responsible for the upkeep of the building. So there's not a homeowners association, there's a condo board. So those are kind of two models that reflect this, but it's condos, it's high density that is affordable more in perpetuity versus down payment assistance, which is usually spent one and done.
Really glad you're on this committee, Julie.
Christina.
So would this be limited with time then as well? Or is this something that somebody can buy into and live throughout their whole life there? Or is it something that's meant to try to be like, you get to a certain point and then you let the next person come up and then they get to a certain point and then let the next person come up?
It's as long as you want to live there, just like any other house, right? Most people move about every 7 years. So if that held true, but certainly people could live there for 30 years or forever or whatever.
I guess my only concern with that then would be, how does it keep new blood coming in and keep that opportunity for others other than just creating it again somewhere else? I guess would be my only want of more information.
Brian.
Well, I mean, it's a small condo, so I think if younger people are buying into it, they're probably going to eventually have a family and eventually want more space. That seems to be the common trend in the Tualatin area, at least. Um, However, you could get somebody that's retired and stays there for 25 years of retirement, but then they sell it and they're, like she's saying, they're capped at, let's say, 1% or 2% a year of growth of the value of that thing, then it's still going to be more affordable than most of the rest of the other housing in Tualatin when it comes on the market.
Yeah, I was just thinking housing is already so limited.
Any more comments on the Swiss style? Oh, Sid.
And just to provide a little context and maybe applicability as to how it could possibly happen in the downtown area is the Catalyst project in the downtown area, right? It talks about ground floor retail and attainable housing. So
Sid, could you speak into the microphone?
sure.
You're soft-spoken.
Sure. So the applicability of this is in the Catalyst project where it is ground floor retail with attainable housing. So if that were the case, then we could possibly look at a model like this, and perhaps include some time limitations on it as well. So that's how it could possibly be implemented.
Council Pratt.
And my question is probably to Sid, but are there builders that will build this that are, in Oregon?
That's a great question. I think probably Jillian would probably be better suited to answer that. But there's you don't know until you go out. It's definitely something that I haven't necessarily heard in the metro area and other areas, so we'd have to investigate it a little bit more.
most of this style of homeownership is in townhomes or like a townhome with a flat above it and not a high-rise condo. High-rise condos, just in Oregon in general, have kind of gone out of, there's like a cyclical swing. There's just a ton of them being built and all the apartments were being converted to condos, and now it's nobody wants the condos anymore and we're going the other way. So I think it depends on, it's going to depend on the market and how many people are moving into Oregon and, all of those types of factors. But certainly the marketplace would play a part in dictating it, so if it's profitable, someone will build it.
Right.
I just wanted to say there are a couple land trusts, or at least a land trust in Oregon. I think I became aware of a project that I think was outside of Bend or in that Bend area. So there's if the market's there.
Yeah, in Portland Metro, the land trust organization, like they kind of do everything, is Proud Ground.
Yeah.
And they're the ones they just have a tremendous amount of expertise. And a land trust is one of those things where you really need an economy of scale to make it operable, right? If you have 4 units in a land trust, that the administrative burden on that, like for an organization like mine, would be too great. We wouldn't do just 4 units, but they have a portfolio in their land trust of, I don't know, several hundred units. I think they're mostly in the Portland metro area, but that might be the one in Bend, or that Bend one might be the housing authority there. I'm not sure.
Janet.
In our downtown district, since we have a dearth of parking, how do we accommodate with something like this? The parking, how does that work with that kind of a housing structure?
That's a great question.
All right. On to the last one.
Yes, the last one here.
Last civilist one.
Yes, the last civilist recommendation is another housing one. This one I do know a little bit more about. So this is single stair housing development. This model is something that is probably familiar to many of you, where you've got oftentimes you'll see this in a historic downtown where you'll have a single stair access point to multiple floors of residential above. I think that was phased out because of fire code, right? And so then you had to have two different stairways to access units above the ground floor, which ate up a lot of potentially developable square feet and also changed the configuration of units. My understanding is that the Oregon legislature in 24 maybe created a set of rules that enable single stair development again, I think up to 3 or 4 stories, with the possibility when they're exploring raising that height limit a little bit further. So this is seen as a potentially cost-effective strategy for developing additional high-quality residential units in mixed-use districts. But I do not believe our code currently allows this. And so with this recommendation is, again, aimed primarily at adjusting codes to permit this type of new development.
All right. Jillian.
I think one of the advantages, other than it's less expensive to develop, is also you can develop more density on a smaller footprint because you don't need what they call a double loaded corridor for those 2 fire exits. So usually you have most apartment buildings, you have a hallway and you have units on both sides. In a single stair, you kind of walk into a lobby and there's the stairs and the elevator in the middle, and the units go around. So it's it can be way more compact and fit on a much smaller footprint, and include, that makes it easier to include things like parking on a small cramped site. But I think one of the advantages of making this part of the code is that ability to increase density without needing a huge amount of land to do it.
Yep. Other comments? I think Jillian nailed it. Skip.
Well, I would just add, I'm in favor of this because one, it allows for some additional creativity that can happen, in the design. So.
Any other comments on those last Civilis recommendation? Okay, so now we're going to change hats
Yes.
to the U of O.
Yes, with that,
Sustainable cities.
we have officially completed deliberations on the Civilis report. So we are putting a bow on that. Congratulations, everybody. To facilitate our changing your gears here. So this is the OC Oregon Consulting Group is based out of the University of Oregon, and it's a professionally managed student-run consulting firm. Many of you got to meet these students who worked on this at the library on December 5th of last year when they gave their presentation. To get everybody oriented to their work, well, actually, I'll just say first, this work is primarily focused on activation strategies. So this is very different than the conversation we were just having, which is primarily about design. You'll see things here more focused on events. To get everybody kind of in this headspace, I've got a 3.5-minute video clip from their presentation that I'm going to play. So you can hear directly from the students some of their kind of key findings, and then we'll switch gears going back to the polling software to do recommendations. So let's see here.
These guys were good. Yeah, quite simple.
Got a backup too. Now, without further ado, Carol's going to start off by talking about the ideal Tualatin recruiter.
Yeah, thank you. So talk about what our research showed us. We found that Tualatin is great for families. Through the documents that we've researched, families came up over and over again as a group or demographic that could really utilize.
Sorry.
You broke it.
I should.
Demographic that we're targeting are parents within their 30s and 40s who are looking for somewhere that's safe and easy for them to bring their kids. They're looking for somewhere that's reliable and fast, cheap, and so they don't have to spend time tracking their kids down when they're running all over the place. We wanted to make a representative persona to really make sure that our recommendations are tangible, and this persona is going to follow us throughout this presentation. So, with all of our research, we had curated the Smith family. The Smith family is a 45-year-old mother named Maya and her 2 kids, Kara and Max. Max has just started his first year of high school, and Kara is in her last year at elementary school. They're looking to plan a trip on a Saturday evening to a comparable city or city of Tualatin in the Portland metro area. They aren't exactly sure where they want to go, but they are looking for a few things during this trip. The first thing is that they're looking for something that has an event or activity that they can surround the trip to make sure that it's a truly memorable experience. The next thing they're looking for is somewhere that has some scenic photography opportunities because Maya loves to share everything that her family's been up to on social media. And lastly, they're looking for ways to try something new. Kara and Max love eating food at food carts specifically, so they want to find options for this as Kara's a bit of a food eater. With this in mind, we looked at 9 comparable cities that are already attracting visitors like the Smith family. And with this, we contacted over 100 professionals and conducted over 550 minutes of interview research. From this, we found a few key variables that lead to a successful downtown. These being partnership, multi-channel promotion, and community involvement. I specifically want to highlight the city of McMinnville, who is doing a great job of incorporating all 3 of these variables. They have collaboration between the Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Association, and Visit McMinnville, as well as the city itself, to create curated events and marketing to their target demographic. Now, with these variables, we came up with 2 factors that are important in making sure that a downtown is accessible and inspiring for everyone that is going. These are physical connectivity and culture and experience. So we put all of our comparable cities, including the city of Tualatin, on this map using the variable key that's listed on the screen. Here, Tualatin is in the middle of the pack. They have great assets like the lake and the river nearby, but they could be doing more when it comes to events and finding that niche of why someone should visit Tualatin as opposed to any other city nearby. So we put all of these challenges into a few different groups, and we found 3 categories that could help target all of these and help make Tualatin's downtown a better area for all of the visitors. These are clear marketing, city identity, and business vitality. Now, we know that change doesn't happen overnight.
That's where we'll leave it. So there's lots of good in the rest of
Yep.
this video, which I sent out by email if you all want to spend more time. But from here, they basically start breaking in, getting into the specific suggestions that we're going to talk through today. So looking back at the poll, the first recommendation is the first recommendation is about creating a flyer, the complete opposite of Swiss-style housing cooperatives. This is a model that it's not a model. So this is a flyer. So they created a one-pager here, and the value of this, right, is creating a coherent, unified message of Tualatin that we can distribute regionally. This is something that we could have in every Explore Tualatin Valley packet, as well as something that we could have at local businesses so that when visitors find themselves here running an errand, they can they can see how they might be able to turn that stop into a day trip. This is an example that the students put together.
Is it in our packet?
Yes, so this is Appendix A in your packet, so it's page 49 of the Oregon Consulting Group report.
Appendix A. Appendix C.
Scroll.
Here's say, turn mine off too soon.
Oh, okay. All right, we're voting now.
Well, yeah, but I deleted it, so.
Well, I have no internet, so I may be in the same boat. My internet is left. Come on.
Yeah, it disconnects.
Apparently I wasn't, vibrant enough. Okay, so all right, so we're voting on this.
Yep, right there.
So what are we voting on exactly? That they've captured us or that this is a good idea to capture us?
That this is a good idea to capture us. This is just an example.
So this isn't their specifics.
If you did a flyer like that,
Okay.
how would it affect?
Yeah, if you have ideas.
So, but the idea is to get it all on one page.
Yeah. And we have something like this already in that we produce a regular city profile that it's like a 5-pager or a 6-pager that spotlights some of the key aspects of Tualatin, but maybe with a different audience in mind. That's something we kind of gear towards prospective residents and prospective business owners. But there is ways of framing this as more of a marketing document that could be useful.
Kathy, you're up.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. The mayor has been at the meetings where our members have stated, what is Tualatin famous for? Why come to Tualatin? Why shop at Tualatin? So if this one-page summary can answer that, or at least what I'm assuming it means is that we use some discipline to define reasons for people to come to this, then we're 100% behind it. But I'm familiar with some of the other material that's been developed, and it's too vague and a whole bunch of things, and it doesn't answer that question. Why? Why would you come to Tualatin? Now, our members have suggested that we are the gateway to wine country. They've suggested that as a tag, but there may be others. Maybe we're the gateway to egg country. Who knows? But they really recommend that we discover a tag that makes sense for us, that explains why someone would stay at the Century Hotel, why they would eat at any of our restaurants, why they'd walk on any of our parks. So I'm 100% for it if that's what that is.
Christina.
On the same thing, like I like the idea that it's condensed and I feel like it should have a why, maybe not a gateway, but like a full stop, just you should be here. As a leaflet, I'm not sure that I'm super on board. I think digital or like where we actually have it accessible. I just feel like paper's not really something
I
that's
agree.
worth its
I
weight.
agree.
But maybe digitally, maybe something that changes seasonally as well. And there's like when you look up Tualatin, maybe it's the first thing that pops up on Google or something. That would make sense to me. Or when you're just looking up something in the area, it pops up with, oh, I see you're looking. But as a leaflet, I don't know.
No, I was saying that Councilor Pratt, being the IT guy, having a landing page that, comes like, pay Google, whatever the hell you got to pay Google, and Minecraft it, whatever you want to do it, do all the things you got to do, that the landing page is in the top 5. And that rather than the city's website, the landing page. Councilor Pratt.
Thinking in the future, I can imagine once we have that riverfront access. I mean, if we have kayak rentals right there, we have a hotel they could walk to, we have restaurants and places that it could be a great thing for marketing for tourists to come in.
Could they focused on why would a family come and spend a day? Was the U of O's whole purpose of why would they come back? Kathy.
Our issue is if this is a discipline for us to get it down on one page, then it would be important that everyone who has asked the question answers it with the same kind of terminology. So whether it's digital or anything, everyone agrees that we've nailed whatever we are, and we can explain it to someone who asks that question. We market us. We're all of us.
Yep. Oh, sorry, Janet.
Loud enough. I mean, if we added QR codes to the one page, that would take people into a specific direction that they wanted to go off in, then a one page would just be a gateway. What do you want? So that, I mean, that's one of the things that we're looking at doing with the art that we're putting in is on the city website, we'll have QR codes, and on the artwork, there will be QR codes that will take you on a path. That's what I want to do at the Vets Plaza for that artwork as well. So it'll be a,
I got the art walk while you're
yeah.
Brian.
Just going back to, even if you put a QR code on a piece of paper, I was having this conversation at the Tualatin Chamber not 2 weeks ago because they've got all the stuff you can do all over the Willamette Valley. There's flyers for everything. And I was thinking about it when I was a kid, and you'd go down to the hotel lobby whenever you visited a town, and you'd go through all the flyers to figure out what you want to do in that area. You don't do that anymore. You just go on Google.
Yeah.
So we need, like what Kathy was saying, we need to have a very disciplined, why are we doing this? What is the point of what we're doing? What are we trying to achieve? So that it's a clear message, so that when anybody comes with a project, does that fit the why of what we're trying to achieve with downtown? And if it does, let's go. Otherwise, sorry, that doesn't fit. And that makes it way easier to make decisions, I think.
I think of, like you mentioned, Brian, when I go around, TripAdvisor is the biggest source of information about any city we go to.
That's for 12 surrounding area though.
Yes. Or it's restaurants in Lake Oswego. All right. All right. Do you have any, Christina? Mike?
I'm also pretty loud. I don't know that we need it to be an exact, like, this is the only reason to be here. I feel like that we could maybe have it even seasonally or like, you know, within the arts, this is our why within the arts, and this is how we showcase it. But I feel like to limit to just a one why would maybe be a disservice in the long run.
This next one here does pivot a little bit into the digital realm. The suggestion here is specific to creating a digital roadmap. What is different is that a digital roadmap is kind of a pre-planned itinerary, right? The idea is that you create tourism materials that encourage a family like the Smiths to come to town and do a set of 3 or 4 activities that are pre-curated. So it takes some of the decision making out of the process. So that's the tool they proposed here. Here is this is page 49 or 40. It's in the back of your book there. I think you all found it. So there's an example that they provided here of kind of what that could look like.
Wait till we get to the magic 11, and that's when I. All right. Christina, then Kathy.
I really like this. It's like a choose your own adventure. And I think this could kind of go with an interactive calendar as well, where it's like maybe something that doesn't every day happen that you can also kind of like tie into your day that you're going to be there, because that could be the surprise thing that just puts it over the edge that you come to Tualatin rather than Sherwood or Wilsonville or wherever else.
Kathy.
Yeah, even without the new park, we have a boat launch and a lot of kayaking. So I think that if those pictures were modified, I know that if you have a kayak, you're going to want to come to Tualatin and put in and get on the river. So I think that's something to promote. But I like their style too. It's good.
Ryan.
Could you tie in like, hey, we want to do these activities, and then it promotes local restaurants in the area and stuff like that? Like, if they're going through and choosing their adventures, it was like, oh, do you want to have lunch or do you want to have dinner?
A brewery tour.
Yeah, here are some places,
Beer.
you know.
Beer.
Yeah, or beer, yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Skip.
Well, this and the last one, I mean, it's really just marketing the city. And so any way we can do that, and all the ways are good, and just look for flexibility and different ways to promote the city.
All right, this next one, I hope not too many people vote no to because it's just about done. So this one is focused on revamping the city's website. We can have a substantial conversation on this if you'd like, but I think it should be coming out here in the next few months.
But most of us haven't seen the new web.
We haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I've heard about it, but I
We've
haven't.
heard about it too for months.
Should we just say one all the way down?
Yeah, that might break some hearts, but I think that's
An improved website.
Yeah.
Well, it's asking the future question. Would it help? Yeah, it would help.
Would.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they
Yeah, that probably drove them insane.
that was one of the first meetings they came in. They're like, "Well, you need a new website." But I think they've done great work on it. I'm excited for it to be rolled out.
So are we.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, we up to, all right, 11, Christine.
I want to go back one on the spend a day in Tualatin. A marketing approach could be, are you biking? Are you kayaking? Are you walking?
Shopping.
Yeah, what is it? What's your mode of transportation? And then propose, directions. because you could walk for miles in the Tualatin area and go through parks,
Mhm.
Bridgeport Village, downtown.
Mhm.
River.
Yep.
That framing.
People from Lake Oswego who can't play pickleball.
Lake Oswego what?
Can't play pickleball in Lake
Yeah.
Oswego. Come on over.
That's
Pickleball
right.
courts.
That's exactly right. We're deep into pickleball, indoor and outdoor.
Yeah, we'll let you put your toe in our waterways too.
So no other comments on the website.
All right.
Oh.
Janet?
So
I have a positive one. The Arts Committee is very excited about the new website so that we can start putting content in about navigating the art walk, expanding with the pieces, the new pieces that we've got. I am really gung ho about doing a passport to the arts where families can come, and I would love to be able to have people take pictures next to the traffic signal box wraps. And if they get enough of them, like a bingo card or a passport thing, they can come to City Hall and they can get a gift package that, we've got devised with that. So, I mean, once we get the new website up and running, Julie and I are just so excited about getting the content on there.
It's good.
Well, as we look to market Tualatin, the one thing that I guess to me, that we need to make sure that we don't forget is we need to market Tualatin as a great place to own and,
Yes.
have a business.
yes,
Mhm.
And so as we look at all these concepts, we can't forget that,
no,
because that's really what's going to help drive the vitality in Portland. Or I'm sorry, in Tualatin.
no.
Council Pratt.
Oh. The one thing I know it's not on the website now, and I know the city staff can't track every event in Tualatin, but I'd really love if there was a link from our site, say what's happening in Tualatin, and then like the Rotary or whoever's putting on whatever event could put that, so someone coming to town could really see what's going on and what their options are.
All right, so we're on the
Yes. So this one here is
targeted marketing campaigns.
yes. So this is, I think, specifically focused on segmenting, kind of like what the U of O students did, where they said, we are looking to design marketing materials for families, right? And then you design with that targeted audience in mind, and you try to meet folks where they are, right? So that might mean if you're doing, well, I guess I'm not in the marketing realm, so I'll try not to make up examples here. But like the idea, because I was probably going to go. So the idea here is though that we are doing more than just like broad-based canvassing through something like leaflets, but we are identifying who are the people that we need to be attracting to Tualatin as tourists, right? And then developing a more strategic campaign about it.
Skip.
That's
leftovers. Right. Any discussion on this one? Got a handful more to get through.
Keep on cruising here. So next one is, all right, now we're getting into a batch of specific events. So one proposed by the students is an annual winter fest. They, I believe, described having a tree lighting, raffle, food trucks, cocoa/cider tent, and live music performances, all on the commons. I think this is I see a lot of support for this one, although it's one person. And this is like any event designed to get people downtown so that they can both get familiar with it, they can connect with others, and that activity can overflow into existing businesses. It has a dual function too of kind of creating a sense of place and structuring the visits of potential tourists. I suppose a conversation on this maybe could be focused on like aspects of this type of event that could be valuable, or maybe other event ideas that are in the same vein.
Brian.
Well, I think if you're, the goal is to create a vibrant downtown, right? And I think any event like this is kind of a no-brainer to get people down there, to get people to start seeing it as our downtown, um, because it lost some of that. There wasn't a lot of events going on down there for a long time, so it kind of lost that center of the city feel. So anything we do like this, I think would help.
Mhm. Eden.
I also feel like specifically for high school students, especially during the winter where you're just trying to cram in classes, it would be nice to have just some sort of event to come down to and kind of just like relax and take a break while you're taking all your classes.
Terrific. We got another event idea here. This one is bi-weekly movie night in the Commons. So similar theme here, just with a little bit more frequency and maybe a little lower, a little less production effort.
I'm assuming during the summer.
I think so. I think so. That would be my
During
recommendation.
Winterfest. Yeah.
Probably.
And I mean, these are things we used to do.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, we used to do these things. So, all right. So Kathy, then Janet.
Yeah, we used to do those, and they come with work. So the city is going to have to support staff so that they could do the work. That was part of the reason it got cut back. But the movie nights we did were so popular. Families that couldn't afford to take their 4 kids to the movies would lay out picnics, spend the
Yep.
whole day around the commons. It was a lot of fun.
Yep.
So I say let's bring it back because it's affordable, but it's going to take resources from the city to do it.
Janet.
Excuse me, if I remember the location of was on the Grange side. My recommendation now would be to transfer it over to the Vets Plaza side and put a screen toward the water because we've got all that seating that's there. We've got all that gathering area, and we also have, if I'm correct, we've got the infrastructure to support the electrical and the projection and everything in that area. So I think we've put the perfect location in, and it would be a wonderful way to have that space utilized as it wants to be, as Joe wanted it to be utilized.
Caden, then Jillian.
I just want to comment. I used to attend the movie nights before COVID, because I lived in the apartments right there. And so it was definitely a very big thing that I looked forward to when I was younger, just at like the beginning of the day, when you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, there's a movie night. So it's definitely very enjoyable. I do agree that doing it over by the Vets Plaza would definitely be beneficial, especially for seating and the amount of geese poop that's over there when you're sitting on the grass. So I definitely think that we should bring it back, and the Vets Plaza is a good idea.
It also doesn't have to be in one place. So you can use an event like this to promote other places within the downtown area that you want people to know about that they may not know about. So you might have some movie nights over by the lake and then some movie nights in the new park. And then maybe if there's a new food cart pod, you have a movie night near there, right? So you can move the location of where you do a movie night to also introduce people who already want to go. It's all very close together. But maybe they haven't seen the new park, or maybe they don't know that there's kayaks, or maybe they don't, then they discover new things and come back to see like, oh, I didn't know that there were kayaks here. I'm going to come back and kayak on the Tualatin.
Christina.
I really like that idea of having it move around. I would, one concern would just making sure that we're being really clean about it, especially in that beautiful new veteran area, but just making sure that it's cleaned up no matter which space we're putting it in so that the community still feels accessible even after said event. And then making sure that it's welcoming to the people that are living there with noise and everything else. I'm not sure how they did the sound prior, but I know sometimes you can get the headphones that are just going to it, or you can have like a little radio station that goes to only that, just so that neighbors maybe aren't feeling intruded upon.
Janet.
Good point, a good point, but the Vets Plaza was designed more like an amphitheater. So the sound is actually contained in that space. We did light so that there was no light pollution, and we also did noise pollution with the people living in that, in those buildings in mind when we actually designed it. And the sound system that's there when it's used by the veterans is in place. I didn't know that.
Okay, we got 3 more left.
All right, next event here is a monthly lake night throughout the summer. So this one maybe could be done on like an alternating schedule with the movie nights. But this one here is you can imagine live music, local artisans, food trucks, and more, right? So it's a reason to come out and for everybody to get together um, uh, down by the lake.
All right, Christina, then Kathy.
I really like this. I was just going to also suggest like local theater, having something like that throughout would be really cool. Comedy, certain things that like I've tried to do it out tour, but we're like really tiny. So having a space outdoors where people can actually congregate and enjoy theater and comedy would be a really cool thing to be able to do outside.
Kathy.
We used to do this. But we have a member has a headline club over in the Lake Grove area. They have acts. They've been asking us, could we possibly come up with some way? There's a lot of local talent around. This is a good idea and it could help fit in with an existing business. And they're not the only ones. There's plays, there's all kinds of things going on. So again, it's going to take staff time, and that's why we got rid of it. Is that it took so much staff time. But again, it was a fun thing to do for adults. It was more adult than the movie night.
Janet. Oh, left-o. All right.
All right. We've got this last event here is a weekly farmers market.
Year round or?
I think this is probably imagined during the warm months.
Okay.
Yes. In November, they proposed Thursday evenings, but I don't think we should evaluate based on that suggested schedule.
I will.
Go ahead, Christine. Yeah.
You know, I just hate to say a lot of good ideas have been floating around here for a long time. They just got killed.
When we heard them, we went, oh, we've done that for.
Yeah, did for 3 years and the volunteers all got burnt out.
That's exactly it.
That's
And
Beth Roach and remember everyone, Beth Roach and
yeah.
Candace Kelly, all those folks, and they just got burnt
Yeah,
out.
you can't run it on volunteer.
Yeah. Jillian.
I guess we already said it, huh?
Yeah, I guess we got it.
I think
Oh, Brian, okay.
that's a really illuminating piece of information that a lot of these events were run primarily by volunteers and the volunteers got burnt out. I think my experience with volunteers is that they get burnt out when they are kind of not supported, where it's like, okay, go do this thing with no money, good luck, off you go. But a more structured, perhaps not having an event planner at the city, but a volunteer coordinator. Maybe that's the position that to think about in addition to someone who's like actually managing the events, because a volunteer coordinator can help with schedules and transportation and how to get funding and how much funding so that there's not so much on the volunteers and the volunteers get to do the things that are the reason they signed up to do it in the first place. So maybe it's art, or maybe it's movies, or maybe they really like farmers markets and that's why they want to help organize one, but they get to do the thing that they're passionate about and the admin part is taken care of. I think that's the piece that burns people out and makes them not want to continue volunteering, is that they got in it to do something they're passionate about and they end up doing paperwork or fundraising.
Brian, then Janet, then Caden, and then Christina.
As the husband of a farmer's market enthusiast, I would say keep it going through the holidays because they're very, very, very busy between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Okay, Janet.
All of those, we've done them. And the art splash, that was, there was reasons behind that. One of them being that there was the infrastructure there and there was city staff that were doing that. But the thing that became unmanageable about doing that was the heat.
Yeah.
And having the artists come in and have their booths be so incredibly hot during the daytime and people coming through. And so we looked at misters, we looked at all kinds of different things that would make it doable for the artists to have a good experience, not just the people coming in. And it just got too much for staff. The winter event that we used to have, that was staff during COVID, that got changed to the the holiday lights, because there was monies, there were grant money specifically for ways to do something like that during COVID. So that would necessitate having staff being taken away from something like that and more funding for that. Farmers market, I think I remember, was Lee Farms, and that was Lois and her crew were very instrumental in a lot of the farm produce that was coming in for stuff like that. And that just got to be too much for the local families to sustain that for the actual farmers market. That wasn't necessarily city staff, if I recall. That was more the local people. So I mean, we did do them, and for various and sundry reasons, that it just dissipated. And it wasn't necessarily just volunteer coordination either. It was all other logistics.
A lot of competition at farmers markets.
Yeah.
Yep. So Caden.
I was just going to bring it back to what Jillian said with volunteer coordinators. I personally volunteer for Viva Tualatin, and I have for, I think, 2 or 3 years. And I can confidently say it's one of my favorite events to volunteer for, just because there's so much structure. And I get to choose what I want to do, with also helping out with just the overall event. And so I think it's really good to just have someone who's there telling you, okay, this is what's happening. Pick what you want to do, as well as what needs to be done.
Christina.
I guess mine's more of a formatting or process question, is when we're looking at all of these marvelous ideas and then we're hearing that they've been done before. I've been a part of the Grange Farmers Market last summer as well. Just kind of trying to get an understanding of, so then once things are getting the highest of grades and then we're thinking about implementation, is that when we're circling back of, okay, now are we looking at what were the reasonings it didn't become successful prior and how are we going to strengthen that going forward? Or I guess like when do we look at those things?
Yes, I think what you described is exactly right, where
Okay.
I'm looking at this as an intake process, and the conversation we're having here is exactly what I was hoping for, where we take an idea like this and we start contextualizing it. So it's great to know that we've done this event before. It's also great to hear a little bit about why they haven't been successful. I don't imagine this committee is going to this committee is going to be making recommendations that I think are a little higher level than we should have a movie night, right? But having ideas like this are absolutely the type of thing that we can pass on as we begin to explore specific activation strategies. And so I say that we are going to come back to our recommendations in a few months.
So maybe like an umbrella, just overall idea of support within events is going to be a topic.
Absolutely.
Okay,
yes.
cool.
Skip.
Well, with farmers market, the key thing there is, we don't want to try and reinvent the wheel. Um, we probably need to look at what farmers markets are successful and have conversations with them because they've gone through, I'm sure, all the challenges that we have gone through, and yet they've been able to make it work. And it's probably that whole issue of keeping the activity and the volunteers and probably a lot of financial support too. So anyway, there's a lot of information we can learn that's already out there.
Last one.
Last one, and a familiar one. So this one is shifting from a what, from a specific event type to maybe more of a how. The Oregon Consulting Group also recommended a downtown business association. They posed some specific things that a business association could do. One being build business to city communication, another promoting the businesses and Tualatin as a tourist destination. Third being providing better access to grants and funding. So this is something that the association could coordinate for businesses. And they also focused on business retention and tenanting support for for property owners looking to get tenants downtown. We'd also discussed last meeting the way that a downtown business association can be an activation function, right, where they take on responsibilities for hosting events.
Catherine, go ahead.
Michelle's report suggested that it should be part of the chamber. Is this recommendation also that it should be part of the chamber, or is it just an association yet to be defined?
Yet to be defined, but I think what I heard last time was that it would make, I think I heard few comments. The comments that I heard last meeting were that it wouldn't make a lot of sense to have two different organizations, especially when the city has a well-established relationship with the chamber, and we do not want to create an entirely separate administrative structure or.
Actually, the CCIO also exists. The chamber has, in the past, and you guys are the chamber, have been focused on major employers and bringing business in. This would be a change. You've always had tourism information and that kind of thing, but it would be a change. Is that something that the chamber, or should we just leave it undefined? I mean, an association could be separate because their goals are completely different than the large employers out in the industrial area. I mean, I don't know. That it's not my world.
It's Brian's world.
Yeah. So the chamber, there's kind of two halves to the chamber, is the way we kind of look at it. There's the large employers who don't necessarily do a ton of business within the city of Tualatin, right? Like lamb research, right? Like nobody's buying lamb stuff in Tualatin.
Intel buys it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Their
you know,
customer.
and then there's the local business side, and I'm a local business side. I'm a bigger employer, but still like my net is primarily within 15 miles of Tualatin. And so there is those two different needs, and those businesses need different things, but the reason I've stayed involved is because I do think the chamber does a good job of representing local businesses in Tualatin. Um, they've been doing, you don't see it much, but we've, not the grant side, but there's been a lot of background work to help employers and different people of various sizes with like stuff they ran into with the city of Tualatin, with the planning department, trying to get that straightened out, trying to get issues like that worked through. There is a lot of support for if you're a chamber member and you walk in the door and you say, I need help with this, they try to find a way to help no matter what size you are. Um, the city of Tualatin already supports the chamber quite a bit, and I think if you wanted to do a downtown business association, you could set that up within the chamber as its own committee that, so then the city of Tualatin's not having or support another association. You could have a committee within the chamber that just all they do is focus on the downtown businesses. Um, to me, that's just the efficient way to do it. And then you don't have two organizations fighting over the same businesses for membership. Um, but that's just my idea on it.
I would agree.
Anything else on this? All right, we made it through.
Absolutely. On time. That concludes our second report that we've digested. We're moving at lightning pace now. So,
All right. So
all right,
next up, we're
thank
up
you,
to agenda item number 5, downtown updates from Sid.
Thank you. I know we're getting short on time here, so I'll make it fairly quick. I've got 4 quick items to update the CAC on. The first is Tualatin Sherwood Road Rail Crossing Study. Mentioned it in previous meetings, but right now, if you'll recall, that intersection, Tualatin Sherwood and Boone's Ferry, was identified in the TSP as one of the top candidates for improvements, and that's why the engineering department is looking into it. They're looking at the rail roadway system. Is it going under or over? Those are some of the options. It is going to the council on Monday or Tuesday, March 9th for a presentation. Consultants and staff will be talking about the different alternatives that they're looking at. And the outcome of that meeting is to see if there is enough support to continue to move on further studying that intersection. So that is one that would certainly impact businesses in the downtown and certainly the work that we're doing here. Are there any questions on that moving forward? Okay. Second item is Riverfront Park. As you may know, the Parks and Rec Department hired David Evans and Associate to be their owner's rep. They're currently working on the scope of work for the DEA work. They're anticipating summer, fall to get a designer on board. And when they do that, they'll be doing some outreach to the community as to what they like to see in the park itself. Third item update is as staff, we're looking at phase 3 work here for this group, which is the urban design plan and code amendments. And as part of that, we're putting together a Metro 2040 grant to fund that project. And so we're working on submitting an application to Metro. It's due in April, and hopefully grant awards are going to be in end of June. So we've met several times with Metro staff, and we're cautiously optimistic that we'll get the grants. And it's right now it's looking to be between maybe a $300,000 $500,000 grant for this. So pretty significant amount of work going on. But again, we're encouraged by our discussions with Metro staff. And then lastly, an exciting one next Friday, March 13th. It's going to be the architecture studio final review. I know Quinn sent out some information on that, but definitely encourage everyone to attend. We've seen some participate in some of the midterm stuff, and pretty exciting work. And I think, again, the focus of that is really kind of exploring the art of the possibilities of what could the downtown look like. They're taking 3 or 4 different sites in the downtown area and designing it out. But I think one of the things that we, the community and the group, would get out of it is not necessarily what the overall design on a site is, but really some of the different elements that might come out of the different designs. So, did I miss anything?
I think you got it. I'll just emphasize
Okay.
the thing I wanted to make clear, since it's such a long event, right, is it'll be right here in this room, but there will be a jury of pre-selected panelists who will be evaluating and providing real-time feedback to the students, which informs their grades. So if you come, you'll be here as an audience member, and we will have time to engage with their materials in depth at the
Except for
April.
Skip.
Except for Skip, and yeah, so
I
we
wrote
will.
Skip into being a juror.
Yeah. And so we'll have time as a group to engage with it for our purposes at the April 1st CAC meeting. So I just want to give you some, just kind of head your expectations there. There'll be food, and if you don't want to come for the full 4 hours, you're welcome to pop by, because there'll be new presentations every 15 to 30 minutes.
All right. So that brings us to item number 6, wrap up loose ends, review of next meeting. So again, if you do have time on March 13th, come by this room, pop in for a little bit, get an idea of what some of the designs they came up with, eyeball a little bit, and you might be able to, chirp in Skip's ear what you like best. So I know Councilor Pratt and myself will be there. April 1st is our next meeting. We'll be looking at some design renderings, basically what downtown could look like. So that's kind of exciting. May 6th, we'll be back to scoring. We'll be looking at 2 more Sustainable Cities Years program outputs, their reports. And then June 3rd, we'll finally be done, hopefully, with scoring, depending on how it goes in May. So the scoring and evaluation of all the reports from U of O and PSU and UW, what am I talking about? And OSU will be done by June 3rd, hopefully. And our new custom, again, is asking for feedback on today's meeting. My feedback is that I very much enjoyed everybody participating tonight. Everybody had something to say, had some great ideas, gave us things to think about, and just continue to encourage, being, putting your hand up and stating what you feel and what you think and what your vision is. Because when we get to the evaluation process, when we prioritize this, it's going to be super important that all these things have been, said, recorded, and then we can focus in on having a beautiful downtown. So that with that, I'll open it to the floor for comments, questions, thoughts. Councilor Pratt.
I want to say I really appreciate Caden and Cozy's input, because a lot of these things aren't going to probably be built for 20 years. So I'm glad that we're hearing from the people that'll actually use some of these things.
Cozy's going to be a doctor in New York by then. Come
I'm going to be a doctor for the elders.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? All right. Well, that'd be it. We'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you again for coming tonight and spending your 2 hours with us.